Hey there. I'm really excited about sharing this next part with you. What I'm going to be doing is showing you and demonstrating how to create additional content areas in order for you to provide handouts, documents, other types of materials for your students in your online enhancement class. So the first thing we're going to do, you know the routine, we're going to go up here to the plus sign and we are going to add a content area. And you can name it whatever you like. I'm going to name it handouts and resources. And I'm going to make sure it's available to users. The only reason I might want to hide this, if I'm not ready to actually display it to students, then I can hide it until I'm ready. All right, so now we're ready to enter the content area. And I'm just going to show you some best practices from some of your fellow colleagues because technically, you could just start building content by creating items, bringing in course links even to other areas, images, web links, so on and so forth. I think a good practice or a best practice would be creating folders within that content area. And you can break it down by topics. In this case, I'm just going to break it down by weeks. So you could put on the outside of the folder, this is materials and handouts for week 1. Now, I'm in the folder, or I'm actually creating the folder. I'm not in the folder yet. Excuse me for saying that. I'm on the outside of the folder and I am actually providing just some information. I think it's important to put something on the outside of folders or learning modules, just a small annotation just to let your students know what it is. Now I'm going to scroll down and show you some other options. I leave these options alone. I want this content, this folders, these areas to be open throughout the semester. So I don't work with date and time restrictions, and this is a default to always allow users to view this content. You could track the number of views if you're interested in finding out if your students are actually going into the folders and looking at the materials. Then you click on Submit. Okay, and there's our week 1. And I could continue to make folders for all of the weeks that the class is being held, 1 through 16 for that matter. Okay, so let's continue on. I'm just going to clear this success bar. And now I'd like to take you inside of the folder. This is where you're going to be building content. So we click inside of week 1. And notice we still have these same buttons to create content. So in essence, you could actually be adding test surveys, different communication tools, and looking up some of the partner content with our publishers. Right now, I'm just going to show you how to create a simple item by clicking on Create Item. And I recommend putting in an item for handouts and things, and I'll just show you why. This is a handouts for week 1. Actually, it's just going to be a single handout. I like the fact that we have the text box editor, and that way you can annotate what this handout is about. This handout should be read before class. You can describe what it is. Now you could bring in your file through this paperclip icon, and it will actually be inserted inside the text box area. I also recommend attaching a file in this area. This text box area, you have some tools. You can bring in images and you can explore that if you want. But I want to show you something a little bit different than when I showed you how to use the syllabus and bring in that file. I'm going to take you into the Browse Content Collection area because we're going to be pulling in a handout file. This is taking us to the file manager. Notice I have lots of different folders, and if you were not aware of this before in going through that content collection area, you might have some stray files that you could actually select and move. Now some of this has moved over because I've copied content over. You probably won't have any folders at all. So what you'd want to do, and I'll show you after this, show you how to go in and create folders. But for right now, I have a folder made, and I want to put the handout document in this folder. So I've just selected the folder. I'll show you that again. I'm going to use my breadcrumbs to go back. I am going to click on the folder, and I do have some documents here already, and I'm going to click on upload. Actually, I don't have to click. I can move my mouse. Now I need to click on upload files. Once I click on that, you'll see a screen that appears where you can choose a file. So now I'm going to go to where my file is located, and let's see, I'm just going to pick one really quick here. I'm going to pick a storyboard, and so I'm just going to pull this down so you can see it. Now remember, you're also dealing with different kinds of file formats, so let me just quickly go over that again. I usually recommend 2 different file formats, so you could bring this in twice. Because let's see if we can do 2 at no, this only allows 1 at a time. If you just depend on Word documents, not everybody has Microsoft Office. PDFs and RTFs are universal file formats. It doesn't matter what kind of operating system, what kind of computer they have, PC or Mac, they'll be able to, for the most part, open these types of documents. So in this case, this is something that I want students to actually print out and fill out. They can save it on their desktop, they can actually type in, or they can print it out and put, fill it out that way. So in that case, a rich text format would be the type of file format I want to use. So I'm just going to click on open. And it should, let me do that again. Okay, so it finally allowed me to go to this next screen, and there is my online storyboard worksheet. There it is listed, and now I can click on submit. If it was the wrong file I accidentally chose, I could go back and pick up the other file, and then you would be able to delete this. So submit. Now it's going to go into that folder. Now it says upload failed because cannot upload a file over a file with the same name. This is good to see. I already have a file by that name, so I'm going to have to go back, and I've done this several times, so that's probably why. So now I'm going to go back, and I'm going to choose a file with a different name. Let's see if I can find one. It might have to be a PDF this time, interactive. Okay, so that means that you should be able to fill out the PDF online. Now, again, just going over the file management and the file formats. PDF is a universal file format. Anyone with any computer or operating system should be able to open a PDF because all you need is the Adobe Reader. Okay, so that was a success, and now that particular document is in my file management in my folder called Documents, and it's even selected and ready for me to submit to put in or insert into this area. Remember, I was working here. I wanted to bring in a handout. And I told you to use create item because it gives you an opportunity to provide some information about what you want the students to do. All right, here's the standard options. I just leave that as the default and I click on submit. Okay, and here's what it looks like, my handout for week 1. Now I'm going to show you one more thing. I'm going to close this and I'm going to go to build content, and I'm going to provide in week 1, because look right here, I'm still in that week 1 folder, but now I want to provide a web link. Google, well, I'll just do Google browser, and what I usually recommend is you copy and paste the URL because, well, look at, I already mistyped it, didn't I? It's good for you to see some of the things that can happen. So I usually, as I mentioned, I usually recommend you copy and paste the correct URL from, say for example, you went over to YouTube and you copied that URL address and then copied and pasted it here. That way it's a sure thing. Okay, so then again, I annotate in the description area. This is where I would like you to search for the topic of the week. Okay, so I'm just making this up. But again, this is a web link to Google. And now I'm going to just scroll down, and I could attach a file. Maybe I had some instructions I wanted to attach. And then I'm going to always leave the default as open in new window, because that means that the students can still be in Blackboard, click on a link, and then it opens up in a new tab. So that's a good thing. I'm going to leave the standard options and I'm going to click on submit. And there we have it. I'm going to just click on that X to move that success bar, and there's our week 1. So let's go back out using the breadcrumbs and take a look at everything. There's our week 1, and the same thing you could do by going to build content, content folder, and we can make a week 2. All you need for that exam is in week 2. Again, I'm going to just disregard and keep the defaults, and I click on submit. There's week 2. I can click inside week 2 and build content just like I did in week 1. Okay, hopefully that's clear enough and you've seen some little challenges and hurdles that you can get through. And before we take a look at everything that we've done so far, I want just to remind you, if you want to start making folders ahead of time, this is file management. You can go here first, you can create folders, just like I've done here, name them, and you could actually, once you've created folders, you could actually bring in your documents into the folders first, and then when you're in this content area, you would browse the content collection and the file would already be there. So that's for another session. If you need some help with that, just remember to contact me, but I think you get the idea. This is similar to something that you would do at home with your file management system. Okay, so now let's take a look at all that we've done. So I'm going to start at the announcement page, and I'm going to be looking at everything we've done so far. Pretty nice, isn't it? We have the dashboard homepage. Remember, that's optional. You have announcements that you could actually do a couple times a week, send them off to the student's email. You have your syllabus area. You have the contact me information. You have a way for students to communicate. In this case, it's the YCCD email, but I did show you some other ways you could bring tools onto the menu for your students. And then you have your handouts and resource area. So look, it's looking pretty good, isn't it? One final little step, I call this sprinkles and icing. You could come over here, and this is a quick way to change your course theme. Now, is it important? Is it necessity? No, but it is fun, and it kind of gives some style and personality to your online enhancement shell. Well, that's about it. Thank you for your attention, and thank you for wanting to provide your students with opportunities not only for your materials in your class, but also to prepare them for more online technologies. This is 21st century skills for our students, and if they do decide to take an online class, they're that much more prepared because you have provided the online environment for them. Thank you very much, and I look forward to hearing more about your development and questions.